All right, welcome everyone to our June Smart session. This is actually our last Smart session of the 22-23 school year. We finally made it. We're here. Natalie, do you want to start sharing your screen?
Yes.
And we have our summer product release information this month. And what you see on the screen there is a bit.ly link in the lower left-hand corner. We will throw it in the chat as well. But that link is going to give you access to these slides. And if you register for this session, or if you've registered, but you're here, you have, you'll also get a copy of this recording. So let's go on to the next slide. So I am your facilitator. My name is Aaron. And I'm joined today by our Director of Product, Natalie. She's going to be telling us all of the amazing things that Gradient has released in the past few months, as well as what we have in store for you all in the 23-24 school year. So we are very excited to get to that. We have a lot of information that she's going to cover. So I'm going to throw it to you, Nat.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we also have our trusty colleague, Amanda, on the call. She is going to be monitoring the chat and making sure that we answer any questions that come up. So feel free to post anything in the chat that you'd like to know more about. So kind of like what Aaron said, conversation today is going to go in this progression. We're going to talk about what we've already released since I did the last one of these, which I believe was in January. And then what's coming soon in terms of the back to school season. And then also kind of to give you an idea of an overview of what we're looking to do this next year so that we can get some information from those of you who want to participate in helping us build an amazing product. So to start off with, I'm going to show you what we've been up to, at least since January of this year. And I tried to segment it a little bit to be what is directly for teachers and what is for administrators. However, just know some of the stuff for administrators is obviously really for teachers. It just requires some administrative setup. So I tried to bucket it that way. So for starters, some assignment creation, what we call quick wins. So feedback that we get from you guys is essential. And then we take that and say, hey, can we just do this in a small little piece of work? So these are some of the things that we managed to get done this year. One of them is adding points per question, and I'll have a little video after this. When you create a test, it used to be that every question came out at 0 points. And then as you went in and put answers, then it changed to 1 point, and then you could go in and change points again. I know as a former educator, oftentimes every question on my test was worth 2 points or 4 points or 5 points. So now you can actually go in and add that at the beginning. You don't have to wait till you've actually created the key and go back into it. And as part of that, you can go through and build the structure, or what I like to call the blueprint of your test, before you add answers, which is also super helpful for people who prefer that process. And then toggling on and off topic strands, and then observational forms. For those of you who use them, this was a huge ask, was to go higher than 99. It was basically 2-digit numbers that we only allowed up to. Now we do allow you to go into the 3-digit numbers. So you can use anything up to 999 in an observational form. So here are some of the images you can see here quickly as a GIF, and it's going to show you kind of 2 of them in one. So you'll notice here points and standards. I changed the question number to 25, and here I want every question to be worth 5 points. And clicking save, obviously right away, I get every question being worth 5 points. Kind of show my process. I used to then go in and tweak the few that weren't 5 points, maybe the open response questions at the end or any other different question types that I have. And here's the add standard. There's a new toggle switch that you'll see on the right. And basically by toggling it off, you simplify your standards. You're removing, I'll call them the parent and the grandparent. Some states call them topics and strands. You're getting the more granular standards versus what's higher up. So those things alone have been huge asks from people just to help their process of creating assignments go more quickly. Aaron, how many times have we been asked in Student Portal for kids to be able to bullet, bold, or anything like that?
A number that is larger than I can think of off the top of my head. And I can tell you, as a former humanities teacher, one of my biggest requests from using a program like Gradient with my students would be able to have that formatting ability that students, for especially for longer form writing responses.
Absolutely. We have a lot of students that use, obviously, Google. They type their things into Google Docs, and then they would try to paste them into our product, and it would remove all the formatting. And that was a big struggle. So guess what? Now you have what we call a rich text editor, which is basically a toolbar with all of those features. And I've listed them all out here. I'm not going to go through each one of them. But I do want to highlight that this is currently available when you assign a test in Portal, anytime it's an open response capture question type. So you don't have to set it. It's not an online administration setting. It's available to the students to use. And it is also available in teacher comments. So if you do leave comments for your students, you can also use the same editor, including the equation editor, which I'm going to show you here in a minute. So here's what it looks like. So you can see in the toolbar at the top, you can bold, you can italicize, underline, you have strike through, you have clear formatting. My favorite, I was a chemistry teacher, superscripts and subscripts. To be able to write a chemical formula or to be able to use units of measure with the actual subscript and superscript is huge. And then you can also see that now students can type in any number of math equations, even significantly more complex equations, which is very helpful for our math teachers to be able to assign tests in Portal that are not 100% multiple choice. And then we do also have the new add link and add image. So a really, really robust rich text editor for our student portal users and our teachers as well.
Link and image, I think, is huge. Like you mentioned, the Google Docs that students might be working in, being able to post that link for the teacher to access maybe for longer form things, or the teacher putting a link in their feedback for a resource the students can go to if they need to work on a particular skill. I love these features.
Absolutely. I remember my students would create portfolios of work, right? And to be able to submit a portfolio of work into Gradient and have it just be the link to their Google folder or their Microsoft folder, whatever the case may be, that is so amazing to not have to have them submit that somewhere else. And I get to keep all of my information in one place. So yes, we are very, very excited. Student groups. So student groups is basically a way to literally group students any way you'd like. And historically, in my experience as a teacher, it was, I want to track this certain group of students across assignments. I want to be able to see how they're doing, whether it's students that are in a certain intervention, whether it's students. I used to have the football coach want to know how his football players are doing. I could make a football player group. You can make a group of any students that you have access to, and then you can toggle reports to just filter to those students. So I put in here just some key questions, right? How many students with IEP, how are my students with IEPs doing on their assignments? Or my favorite, do students who are choosing the same distractor make the same mistakes across multiple tests, right? Because that kind of does imply some sort of key misunderstanding that they need to be able to tweak. So here's just an example of what it looks like. So you can see the arrow pointing. So at the bottom left, there's the pink box, and this student group is all groups, which means it's all students. And I have 23 students in this class, and I'm just pointing. You can look as you go across and see that there are 23 students who got number 1 right, and number 6, you can see it's more spread out. And then I just created a group, I called it trial, and 2 of those students are in this group. So interestingly enough, you can see on number 6 that the 2 students in this group did perfectly fine on question 6, right? Whereas if I look at the class, I can see that there were some students who saw other question types as being appealing. So a really nice way for teachers to be able to track any, I know from I don't know about you, Erin, but we had to track subgroups, right? So we needed to be able to show growth in subgroup data in terms of our goals. And this is a great way to create those student groups based on your subgroups.
Yeah, and this is based in the teacher account, right? So teachers can be really flexible with these. I know our admins might be, our leaders on the Zoom right now might be familiar with groups in admin mode. These live in teacher mode, right?
Correct. Teachers can do this themselves. And that is our goal, to not have to have teachers reach out to their admins to create these groups for them so that they can be self-sufficient and take care of this on their own. Awesome. So these things are coming soon. Notice I have the little caveat icon over there, meaning we're looking at releasing them. We call it back to school, which is kind of the summertime for us. This one is actually almost finished. And this is a new assignment sharing design. We've had a lot of feedback over the years that our assignment sharing, what we call a modal or the little pop-up, is kind of confusing and people weren't quite sure what it meant. So we've tried to simplify it, and ding, 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 you will be able to share to more than one person at a time. Oh my gosh, right, Aaron? So if I want to say it again, share to more than one person at a time, right? Because if I teach Algebra 1 and you, Aaron and Amanda, are my colleagues, I can share to you, Aaron and Amanda, at one time. I don't have to share to you, Aaron, and then go back in and share to you. And also coming, this is a huge ask, is being able to share multiple assignments at a time. So hold your horses. Those both are coming, but I wanted to show you this preview of the actual design itself. So you can see here, 2 teachers are selected. The permissions are very straightforward. They can view the test. They can administer the test. Edit share is, of course, the one we always say be careful with. That's the previous, we called it joint owner. Basically, you're giving someone the keys to the kingdom. Make sure if you're going to do that, that you entrust that they will respect your wishes in your kingdom. But easy to trash, easy to keep up with, and should be way more straightforward from a usage standpoint. Another one that's coming soon is the new student by question report. So I just wanted to give you this visual. This is the current student by question report. This and item analysis are our 2 most commonly used reports. This one is literally a roster of kids. These are some fake children. And then at the top, that's question number 1 through whatever, just in sequential order. And you can see which ones the students got right, which ones they got wrong. Well, this is the new student by question. And this one here is actually, as you can see at the top, grouped by standard. So that is going to be an option. If you don't group it by standard, it will go in sequential order from 1 to 10, whatever the direction is. But if you do choose to group it by standard, it will cluster the questions. So you can see this first standard here, EK 1.1A1. It had questions 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8. And then the score right after 8 is the score on that standard. The score at the beginning is the score on the assignment itself. And you will see that cluster going across the screen. Aaron, we're really, really excited about this one because we've been asked for improved standards-based reporting for a long, long time.
Well, I love that it's like the bridge between what we have right now. So like with the regular by question, you can see the standards at the top, but they might all be spread out throughout the test, like you see here. And then the by standard just kind of combines everything into a single score. This can let you really focus. And this might be where, maybe there's issues with the question itself, or, it might not even be the student's performance on the standard. You can get so much better information by looking at a report like this.
Yeah, absolutely. This is literally a hybrid of those 2, right? Student by standard and student by question. This is a combination of the 2. No worries. We are not getting rid of the other 2. We're going to add this. We know that people get very accustomed to what they're using and we don't want to take anything away from you. So you'll be able to use this in conjunction with the others. As a former data coach, I always like to say what is a red row and what is a red column here, right? And a red row is going to be a student that's struggling, and a red column is a question that is probably not 100% on board. So this is a really great way to visualize that kind of really great way.
Nat, are we going to be able to remove certain standards from this view? Is that what I'm seeing there at the top?
Yes, you are. Good catch, Aaron. So you can actually click these X's and remove specific standards. So if you want to look at it one standard at a time, or if you have certain priority standards that are way more important to you, you get to choose. You do not have to take all of them, especially because some longer tests can have lots and lots of standards on them, and that would make this report quite cumbersome. So yes, absolutely. Lets you focus on anything that you want.
Exciting.
Yes. Okay. This one, we're really excited about. I do have a few rough draft images. It's not necessarily concretely going to be what it's going to be, but I can give you this overview. This is going to be a math equation response question type. As a former math and science teacher, that has always been the struggle in our application, is if I wanted students to actually write out some sort of an equation or some sort of response with numbers or superscripts or subscripts or anything, that became an open response question type, which required me to go in and manually grade it. With this, teachers will be able to create the equation as the answer, and then students in the portal will be able to go in and use our equation editor to put the equation in, and it will then automatically score that equation for the teacher. So huge in that respect. But what's even cooler that we're going to do, because we still have a lot of people who love paper, and that's amazing, is we are going to take this. This is what it would look like from the teacher scoring standpoint. And you can see at the top, it says student response. That's if the student typed it on portal. But what if you want to use paper? Because paper is just easier for kids, right? Especially in math. Well, we're going to take the equation that they write on the paper, and we're going to actually transcribe it into text and grade it. So you will have the ability to do math equation response online or on paper.
And have it be auto scored.
Auto scored. Yes. Yes. So we plan on releasing this as a beta, probably within I would say by September. But it is something that we're really, really excited about, and definitely keep looking out for.
Now, if it's in beta and people are using it, how can they send us feedback about?
So in our application, we have a feedback loop in our resource center, and that's going to be the easiest way to do that. Just to note, during the beta, we actually are tracking all of this as well. So we can see if the transcription is not accurately reading the student's handwriting. As we all know, students sometimes don't have the best handwriting. And so we are actually, that's part of it being a beta, is we will be behind the scenes looking at this and making sure that it is reading it as accurately as it can. And we will also likely be improving some of the resolution of the images, which will actually help in this situation, but also across the board. So,
and in the event that it does read it incorrectly, or the teachers can rescore, they can accept a correct answer just like they always can, correct?
Absolutely. And one thing extra that we're doing here, which you might see here that you haven't seen before, is right now, if you want to change the points that a student received on a question, you have to actually change the student's answer. And I know from my experience, that's not always what I would like to do. I want to keep the integrity of the student's response so that I can refer back to it. So we are actually creating this new ability to just give a student points without changing their answer. So you can see at the top where it says graded as, and you see the little blank with the little bar, you'll be able to type something in there. If it graded the student a 0 and you want to give them 3 points, you can absolutely type 3 or 2 or 1. And if in this situation, you can see this is an example of a transcription that didn't read it correctly, you could go into the graded as section and change the transcription. That way it is actually referencing the student's response. So you'll have multiple avenues in which to change this if you choose to do so. And of course, if you see students giving a similar answer that you're considering, because of course math, there's always multiple answers that could be correct, and it was one you didn't think about, you could go in and add that answer and then just rescore all the questions, and it will automatically give the students who had that answer the points as well. So some really, really amazing stuff for our math and science and elective folks.
Lots of flexibility too. Love it.
Yes, yes. So administrators, this one, oh my gosh. Okay, so Erin, I'm going to ask you, how many times have you had people say, can I change the names of my classes?
More often teachers asking this question, but especially when sometimes the classes that get pulled into Gradient mean nothing in terms of the way it reads, right? It'll have a lot of numbers and codes that the teacher can't necessarily differentiate between their periods and their classes. Happens a lot.
It happens a lot. I think back, I taught the same class 6 times a day, right? Mm-hmm. So if my classes said physical science 6 times, when I look at a drop down and I see 6 physical sciences, how do I know which class I'm looking at? Especially if periods aren't imported, right?
Cross your fingers.
exactly. It's a wing and a prayer. So the goal here was to give administrators the ability to provide some of these, what I'm going to use the term nicknames to these classes, right? Especially if they're super long, or, because we can't control our SIS. We know that you guys cannot go in and change class names in your student information system. It's your system of record. They have to stay the way that they are. But this will allow you, regardless of how you roster with us, it can be Clever, it can be ClassLink, or it can be a file import. You can go in and either manually change some classes or use a file to upload those display names so that your teachers actually can differentiate between the classes that are in their list. So again, it has to be done by the administrators, because otherwise you'd have lots of different names for the same classes. And also just to make sure the student portal will show the nickname as well, or the display name. So the student will see the display name as well as the teacher, and then any filtering reports. I can show you a little visual here, and it's going to show you kind of the import. So you import class display names. That's our little new import modal. And when it goes through, right, it's updating the class, no errors, yay. And then what we will do is show you, when they search for the new class, we'll show you the display name, but you'll see here in a second with a little asterisk that you can hover over. So here's the searching for the class, and you hover over the asterisk and says original name. So you can still see what the original name was. And of course the import works just fine. It's not affected by that. So this is going to be huge for a lot of our teachers who have struggled immensely with kind of what they have no choice in terms of populating their classes.
And we put the resource, we have a help article that Amanda threw into the chat there. So updating class names, we've got a help article to kind of walk you through those steps, whether you're doing it manually or with the import.
Absolutely. And you'll notice there are support articles tagged throughout this presentation that you can access as well. This one I just threw in here. I don't know how many people know we have it, but as administrators, obviously we do have Google, ClassLink, and Clever single sign-on options that don't really require setup. It works really pretty seamlessly for students and teachers. We do have a new setting and restrictions, which is accessible by system administrators, where you can require your teachers or students to use the single sign-on method. Basically, that will prevent them from typing manually in their username and password. It will just tell them, if they try, that you can't do this. You have to use one of these single sign-on methods in case you want to avoid having to send out the invitations for new folks, or if you want to avoid the whole, like, will you reset my password question that you likely get quite frequently. So that is also something we built recently. And this is what's coming that is bigger. So before I get to the next slide, this next slide is really, really important, and I'm going to probably spend a moment or two on it. So we are going to have a new file import template. And I'm saying we're going to, this is actually done and released. And if you are a new client, this is already your import mechanism. You have no changes, and this is working this way already for you. People who have been with us this past academic year, we did not obviously want to make a change midstream. So you will not have to worry about this until you create your new academic year. And when you create your new academic year, you will have these new requirements, and you will see some updated ways of doing things. For those of you who remember, or you've done this, it's a lot of mapping. I think there were 9 steps, and you had to map your columns in Excel or CSV, whatever you were using. Unfortunately, more often than you would believe, people would map columns incorrectly and then do the import, and it would create a lot of problems within the application. There would be duplications. You would have all the class names and the student names, and that requires a whole lot of cleanup. Sometimes it didn't even get noticed right away, and kind of became this snowball effect. So going forward, we will have a specific template. This is very common amongst software programs that work with school districts. Basically, we will require the same format. We will require the header row. The headers have to be in that order. They have to be spelled that way. And we will still have optional fields, which means you can leave the field blank. but you have to have the column in the spreadsheet or else it will not work. And so in this situation, rather than importing data incorrectly, it's going to just basically say, no, you can't import this. You need to look at your spreadsheet, which is better for all involved because it doesn't, it doesn't mean that you guys have to go after the fact and try to clean up a mess or have to wait for us to try to go in and figure out what's going on so that we can try to work on that either. So no more mappings, no more data in the wrong field, and we will only be matching on ID. So staff ID, student ID, and class ID. Historically, the way it worked is if you imported all your classes without a class period, and then decided after you wanted to add your class period, Aaron's smiling because this has happened to him multiple times, it duplicated all your classes. So you would have physical science without a period, and then you would have physical science period 4. And it was the same class. And it was because we used kind of we could map on this or this or this, but it prevented anybody from updating. So in this situation, we're only going to match on class ID. So later on, if you want to import periods, feel free, you can do it. Yes. The caveat will be, you do have to have unique class IDs within a term, within an academic year. We do have lots of suggestions on how to work that out if you don't, and you'll see some information coming after this on how you can potentially reach out to us, and we'll have some office hours likely coming up this summer to help you guys as well. I have included in here the template, and I have included the support article, and on the left you can see template information literally describes every field and the purpose of it. So if you are somebody who manages non-Clever or ClassLink, again, this does not affect Clever and ClassLink syncs. If you are not using those syncs and you're doing file imports, whether you've got them nightly automated or whether you're doing them manually, this will affect you. And you will, it will keep you from using our application when you roll over your new academic year until you get this situated. So definitely pay attention and reach out to support if you have any questions for sure. Canvas and Schoology, we've updated the versions. We had, I think about 60 clients that had already set this up. If you had not already set up our Canvas and Schoology integration, you can absolutely do it. It will make no difference to you because you'll be setting it up from scratch. If you did our other version, you will have to redo it this year when your academic year starts. But this comes with the amazing new feature of teachers being able to do paper scans and send those scores to their Canvas or Schoology gradebooks. Has been a huge, huge ask, right? Because before, only things that were taken in portal and assigned to the student in the LMS worked that way. But in this case, the paper option will work as well. So it's going to make a lot of happy teachers. PLC groups. Ever had the desire to share data across a team of teachers so that they could then make good decisions, right, based on the data that they're getting on their common assessments? Well, you're going to have that ability here with PLC groups. And what's really nice is you'll be able to do data sharing and respect data privacy all at the same time. So in this case, if Aaron and I are sharing students, Aaron, you won't see my student names. I won't see your student names. They'll be redacted. However, I will be able to see how your class is doing. We can evaluate how our kids are doing on questions and everything like that to really foster some great conversation. And this is going to be something that administrators can give us the ability to do. And then any tests we share, it works on. So really, really cool way to support your teachers in their PLC endeavors and to make those meetings really productive.
Like you said, the best of both worlds, kind of with data sharing and also privacy for the students.
Absolutely. That is a quintessential thing that all software companies are working towards now, is that we have to respect FERPA and PII. So we definitely the best of both worlds. And then new administrator permission. This is literally going to be a way for principals, instructional coaches, anybody who's in the school to get the ability to see all of the students, all of the classes, all of the teachers without going into admin mode. And this, Aaron, is going to let people print and scan and assign in portal for other people.
Amazing.
I know, it's going to be like, as a principal, you're the co-teacher of all classes. You will be able to do anything with any of those classes if those assignments are shared with you. So again, I can't even stress how much we've been asked about
This is
this.
going to make a lot of people happy.
Yes. Yes.
So many schools have, common assessments across the school that like an AP is doing all the printing for, and this is going to make things so much easier for them.
Absolutely. It's going to really help those administrators help their teachers more and try to, keep them from having to do a lot of extra work. So that kind of wraps up all the amazing stuff. I just want to give a big shout out to our engineering team and the product people that I work with, Amanda and Mark, and all of our engineers. There are too many of them to mention, but they have worked unbelievably hard to reach out to people, do some research, make designs, and build this out for everybody. So our plans for next year, I'm just giving thematic plans here. We're looking at improving reporting. You saw the report earlier in this presentation. We're looking to do more of that, especially along the lines of improving filtering and improving standards-based reporting. So potentially looking at standards over time, or how to track growth in that respect. And that goes into the second bullet here, which is encouraging student agency. We want students to be able to look at information, know what they need to do, and then be able to help themselves. Teachers can't do it all, right? They're teaching 200 kids a day oftentimes, and that's just way too much. So in this situation, what can we provide students in terms of information to help them help themselves? And then the last thing, improved assessment organization. So trying to figure out your assignment list, whether it's folders, whether it's tagging. I just threw some random ideas out there. We want your help though. We don't want to build what we want. We want to build what you want. So on the left, you'll see a link to a form. Please fill it out if you're interested in this. And there's a question on there saying, if there's any one or all three of these that you're interested in, just let us know. And then look for emails from us. A lot of times people fill out the forms and then they don't answer our emails, and we need your help. So please look for emails from any of us at GradeCam, and let us know if you want to participate in these programs. Aaron, I've had enough. I'm done. Your turn.
Some water.
Yes, and coffee.
Yeah. All right. Well, for next steps heading forward, and thank you all for sticking around. I know we went a little over our time today, by maybe a lot. There's a lot of good stuff though. We have a brand new help center. All the same content is there. It just looks nice and snazzy. So we got a link there for you if you ever have any questions. If you click on the question mark icon in your account, you can actually search directly into the help center from there. We post our product updates as often as we update things. And then, of course, if you're getting ready for the end of the year and you missed our smart session from last month, we had a whole breakdown of tasks you should be aware of, things you need to make sure are set up so that at the start of next school year, you're ready to go. We have a checklist linked on this slide, as well as a link to last month's smart session that you can watch to get all of the information on that. And as Natalie mentioned, we'll be having office hours. There's lots of ways you're going to be able to contact us for questions about back to school, about the new roster import format, anything like that. We want to be here. So you're welcome to contact us for any of that. And the next slide just has popular sessions from the past, including last month's, as well as a link to our training hub so you can get lots of resources to share with your staff. And that is it. Awesome. It doesn't look like we have any questions in the chat. I'm going to stop the recording right now, but we'll hang around a little bit to see if anybody has anything. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I'm going to stop the recording.